Another stereotype.
Yeah.
If I do that, I'll end up sleeping with the fishes.
Oh my God.
At some stage, I want to say, leave the gun, take the cannolis.
Yeah.
I've got to say that. Anyway.
Just say it to your wife. For God's
Quietly.
sakes. That's right.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to another Telecoms.com podcast. Just to remind you that if you're watching on the site or on Facebook, you can listen on SoundCloud or iTunes, and vice versa. If you're listening, you can watch it on the site or on Facebook. We've got Jamie back from his travels, and we've got Ray back. Ray back. It's like Ray-Bans. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about, me and Ray were hanging out.
We're going to talk rubbish.
Wait.
Absolute rubbish.
What did I forget?
Just a reminder.
I did the reminder bit.
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry. I was already.
Oh, God.
I was paying attention to Ray. Sorry.
Yeah, don't do that. Do you know what? I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm struggling today. I was out. I got to bed at 3:30 in the morning last night, and we'll get onto that in a bit. But you got to be gentle with me, and I'm probably going to talk even more than usual, which is saying something. Anyway, but what are we going to talk about apart from that? Me and Ray were hanging out with Börje Ekholm of Ericsson yesterday, so we'll reflect on that and
he
some
would
other.
not do karaoke.
He wouldn't do karaoke. Yeah, no, it's true.
A bit of ABBA.
Bit of Dancing Queen. So we're going to talk about Ericsson. We're going to talk about European operators, especially Iliad in Italy, which seems to be trying to mess with that whole scenario. And Ray, you're going to treat us to a bit of blockchain in telecoms at the end, because that's the kind of party dude you are, yeah?
I'm just the most compelling and interesting and charismatic person know.
Well, let's really explore the parameters of your interestingness. So yesterday, Ray, I'd never met him before. I know you've interviewed Börje Ekholm a few times, like at Mobile Congress and that sort of thing. And they just put on some drinks for a few sort of telecoms hacks. It was sort of an informal thing. I think he'd been doing like a TV interview, and he was in town, and he had a couple of hours. And we sat down and chatted to him.
It was the day after their earnings, wasn't it? Q2 earnings. So.
That's right. Yeah, which we'll reflect on. But I thought, on the whole. Oh, by the way, I've got to give a shout out to Lynn and Sonny and Ola for leading me astray last night. We were the sort of ones hanging around till the small hours. So thanks a lot for that, you guys. I'm really struggling today. But I thought it was a really good idea, just to get the CEO out to hang out with everyone. I never really got a sense of what he's like as a person. He's quite sort of straight and formal in a lot of the announcements they do, but we saw another side of him.
He's a very normal person.
He's very normal,
isn't he? He likes to get a value shirt.
Yes, yeah. He admitted to being a tight ass, basically, doesn't he?
He likes value. Value for money.
Okay, that's
in his private life and also in his business life.
Yeah, I think he said his suit only cost like 150 quid or something like that. Which when you're CEO of a major company, that's really frugal. But yeah, I thought he came over well. I sat next to him, had some good chats with him, even got him to laugh at a few things. I showed him a text from a mate of mine who works from Ericsson that made him laugh.
Indeed.
And I hope doesn't get my mate sacked. What did you think of the chat with him?
I mean, he's a very pragmatic person. He is, up to talking about absolutely anything. He will obviously talk about business and Ericsson till the cows come home, and he can talk about, it's a very big company. I know he's been there like a year and a half, and that seems like a long time, but when it's such a big company, and so many customers, you wouldn't necessarily know everything. But he was fielding a lot of questions from, financial press and Wall Street Journal, etc., as well as sort of more perhaps dweeby questions from the few telecoms crew that were there. And he handled all of them pretty well. I would say that there's he maybe sort of not so much exposed, but shared some of the challenges that Ericsson still has. Getting perhaps the broader, outside of the industry, a lot of people are already coming to terms with what the Internet of Things will mean for networks. and outside of the industry, Börje believes that people still are only thinking about connecting smartphones that are used by people as the growth opportunity, and the Internet of Things hasn't really sunk in with beyond the industry so much. And I think we started to have a really interesting discussion as well, I thought, around he was extolling the virtue of partnerships to be able to reach into new areas and deliver the kind of capabilities that large enterprises and communication service providers will be needed. And I've got to say, I wasn't totally convinced that Ericsson, they might have great partnerships, but I'm not totally convinced they have everything in their portfolio right now to deliver what those partners will need to put together a package. I may be wrong, but that was my personal take.
Yeah, no,
they've maybe got some portfolio
I can see your
work to do.
chest.
Pardon?
I can see your chest.
Oh dear, nobody wants to see that. Did you spot a hair? Do you have a magnifying glass?
He waxes.
But yeah, I mean, but you know, and I think I missed some of the probably more financial bits of the conversation. But you know, at least they're back in operating profit, so investors really like that. But he also made the point and stressed the point that while they've been cutting costs, they have not been cutting R&D investment, which is incredibly important.
Yeah, that's a big part of their narrative with the quarterlies. So they've had the second quarter in a row of sort of improved margin and operating profit, which seems to be what the investors like the most, because they had a share price spike of about 10%.
Yeah. They've been, I think that was 5 or 6 quarters in a row of operating losses, and some of them were pretty heavy. So it's you know, it's a good indicator, at least in the near term.
Yeah, so talking about the sort of underlying narrative, one thing I sort of sympathise with him, not that I can claim any great empathy with the CEO of a massive company, as believe it or not, I've never been anywhere near that position myself. No, this is probably about as senior as I've ever been in my life, which isn't, well, I'm not really in charge of anything.
In charge of the podcast.
Barely in charge of my own behaviour. But I sort of sympathised that, you know, we both sort of wrote editorials when he started, which was like, you know, what's the plan? You know, he's standing up at Mobile Congress and basically going, yeah, I'm not sure yet. Give me a sec.
I think he'd been in the job about 6 days or something.
Well,
like that.
That's what we're like, isn't it? We're horrible.
You might be.
But then the plan was basically just to steady the ship and just to do the basics properly.
That's what he was brought in for.
Yeah, and you know, right now, I mean, the other thing I said and he confirmed is, you know, you're only as good as your last quarterlies. But right now, while he's got a couple of decent positive quarterlies in a row, then his cunning plan looks cunning. But whereas as soon as the numbers go in the wrong direction, then we and other people will be having a pop. Another thing I said to him, actually, I got him to put a date. I said, how long do you think CEOs normally get before people start calling for them to be sacked? And he went, after a bit of conversation, he went, I don't know, about 2 years. And I went, how long have you been there? And he went, about a year and a half. And I went, well, you better watch yourself, mate.
You've got till Christmas.
You've got till Christmas. Well, I mean, yeah, he keeps pulling these numbers. It's all good. Yeah. But anyway, the point is that a lack of a really compelling or easy to get your head around narrative at the start, which I criticised, now looks totally spot on. And he wasn't trying to go in for gimmicks. He wasn't saying we're going to double down on whatever. He wasn't doing crazy M&A. Far from it. He was just doing the basics right. And that seems to be borne out. So fair play to him on that one.
Very much so. VMS.
What's that?
Very much so.
Oh, very much so, VMS. Okay.
It's the new acronym.
You've got
You just made that up?
I've been using it for years.
Okay.
You've got to really spell stuff out to me today, man. I'm not firing all cylinders.
You know JOMO? That's a new one as well.
JOMO?
Joy of missing out. As opposed to the old one, FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah. And anyways, the abbreviation for homosexual. Homo. Anyway. What else? Yeah, this is the second Thursday in a row I've been out late.
This is a compelling topic.
Yeah,
Telecoms.com.
It's relevant because last Thursday I was hanging out with OpenNet in Dublin. So I've got to do another shout out to Martin and Julia and John, who led me astray this
On
time
Guinness?
last week. Yeah, on Guinness. Although, do you know what? I learnt from previous visits to Dublin not to do Guinness the whole night, because without sort of spelling it out too much, it plays havoc.
The next day.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be anywhere near me if I've been.
This can definitely be edited out, right?
That's going to be in the promo.
So yeah, it's just a couple of Guinnesses to start off with, and then vary it up a little bit.
Sure.
But yes, I can't keep doing this, man. It's I'm too old for this sort of
You need to have
rock and
those
roll
meetings
lifestyle.
like much earlier in the day, like 9 a.m.
What's that?
You need to have those meetings much earlier.
What, be led astray at 9 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Imagine the carnage by 2 o'clock.
the state of it.
Just have coffee.
Yeah. Oh, there was one other more relevant tangent apart from me going out on the lash with telecoms companies. Both times as CEOs. So it was Niall Norton from OpenNet. So somehow meeting a CEO
Name
seems
dropping.
to end in sort of alcoholic depravity for me at the moment.
One's considerably more impressive than the other. I mean, one's a multinational, multi-billion-pound corporation, and the other one's, not.
Oh man, Niall, man. You wait till you meet. No, I'm sorry, Niall. This isn't me. Okay?
I've already met him.
Yeah, Jamie. One other.
As you got your head up.
Yeah, Jamie. If you want to sort of alienate any of the other people that we have to work with, then no, I'm joking. Yeah, actually, alienate Huawei. Why not? While we're talking about big kit vendors, they've had an interesting thing that you wrote up today. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's you tie in the idea that Ericsson is doing a bit better, and prospects are looking sort of a bit more promising ahead of the 5G era, and just everything for Huawei is just starting to look a little bit trickier. And I think one of the things this morning, I can't remember what the actual acronym stands for, but there was the HSEAC or something like that. It's part of the National Cybersecurity Centre, and it's the oversight board.
But just for checking out Huawei.
Yeah, it's just for Huawei, just making sure all Huawei technology and all their processes are up to scratch, and making sure that there's no national security risks in the UK. And basically they did their annual report. It's the 4th time they've done it. It should be noted that this board is actually funded by Huawei.
Yeah.
So,
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
take everything with a pinch of salt. But the board did
Funded by. They have to fund it. They were forced to fund it, but they don't do the check.
They don't do the checks,
Yeah.
but they do have a few people on the board that do the audits. But it was very much a case of these guys turned around and said, we cannot guarantee that everything is going to be completely above board here. With the some of the processes that they use, they can't trace. I think what was the term? It was they can't guarantee end-to-end traceability of some of the source codes in their software. So there's some. What are you going?
Why is
He's
there
just
smirking
happy
going on?
he did the...
Oh, you finished one side of it.
Can you please
Right,
hold it
okay.
higher, hold it
Hold it
higher.
up high. Show the rest of the class, Ray. So you've been doing Rubik's Cube on the sly under the table.
That's just one side.
He's only done one
It only
side.
took me an hour.
Anyway, Jamie, thank God you and I are professional.
But so basically, they're not saying that that they're a complete liability from a security perspective, but they're putting that element of doubt.
Yeah.
They're saying they're not 100% trustworthy. The processes, the way they build their technology, and it was even something as daft as some of the open source technology that they're putting into their software and their products. The support for these lines of code or these open source projects expires in 2020, but Huawei is selling the technology, and its end of life cycle date is beyond 2020.
Right.
So they've got components in.
So they
this.
haven't uncovered a massive, API that will bring down the entire network.
But they're saying
or
it's
controllable from a small island in the Pacific.
But they're not. They're saying it's not 100% trustworthy, and I think just everything that's going around about Huawei and Chinese firms, all you need is that that element
Or
of doubt
insinuation,
in the procurement process, and all of a sudden Ericsson or Mavenir or Nokia, they become a lot more attractive as suppliers than Huawei does. And I think
Yeah, but what's the next step after this? The next step is that Huawei says, oh, now we realise we've got this problem, we'll shut that door and then we'll be 100% secure again.
so. It's not.
And BT and Vodafone are not going to switch out overnight. You can't.
No. I mean, that's what I think. I think.
What do you call him? Sorry.
But I think the impact won't be anywhere near as bad as what's sort of ZTE felt in the US. But because we're so reliant on Huawei in our networks. The US aren't, so they can get rid of Huawei, no problem. But everyone else in the world, we're reliant on Huawei technology as the basic foundation of infrastructure. In every aspect of the ecosystem, but I just don't think with these stories, with Nokia doing better, with Mavenir starting to pip up, with other, I just don't think Huawei are going to have it as easy in the 5G world as they did in 4G.
You know what? And I think they realised that a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think last year I remember speaking to Eric Zhu.
Ooh, look at this name dropping.
And
Casual.
he said, we're now a really, really big company, and we know that with
As
that
of last
kind of
year.
scale, that was last year, and they're probably even bigger now. With that scale comes massive challenges around, how do you control and run a company of that size?
Well, this is, I mean, one of the interesting things I find about it is that because of how successful Huawei have been over the last 5 years, let's say, I think that will actually provide some momentum for Nokia and Ericsson because
it swings and roundabouts.
Because their operators are becoming too dependent on Huawei technology. So they're all of a sudden they're thinking, right, okay, 50% of our procurement over the last 3 months has been Huawei. We need to diversify. So
they might think that, but if it's still and the cheapest, then they will do it. I mean, that's why they've built such a dominant position in so many markets.
It's because they are that good.
Because they're good. Cheap. They do what they listen to the customers, and they do what the customers. That's what I've heard over the past 4 years. Is that we're really happy, and this is not with anybody standing with a sort of gun to their back or being forced. This is just in conversations I've had with people, and they say, really happy working with Huawei because they really listen to what we want, and then they actually understand and then deliver. And you go, well, can't argue with that, really. You can't argue with that.
One of the other points that I've heard quite a few times over the last few years is, or in particular since Mobile Congress last year, is that people were saying to me that just post-contracts, Huawei are just better than anyone else on the market.
I remember that.
If something goes wrong, they've got 50 men on the ground that will come out and help you and fix the problem instantly, whereas everyone else has got 10 men that take 2 days to get out to you. They're just so much better at reacting to problems and fixing them. So the account management side of things, just outstanding.
I don't think adding buddies always makes it easier, though.
And it can sometimes make that post-deployment professional and systems integration service a lot more costly than the companies had budgeted for. So there's always like a flip side of each coin. But when you need your networks to work, when you need that 5 nines reliability and you need to get on with stuff, if they deliver, then the CFO is not going to go, oh no, I don't want that to work because it's going to cost an extra 10% on what I'd budgeted.
So the biggest thing that might stand in their way is this, what Jamie started off talking about, was these constant insinuations about security. You have to wonder...
These minor vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and you have to wonder how much sort of contagion the whole the rhetoric coming from the States is. Because I think we've already seen, more broadly politically, there's a certain, I don't know, some of the way Trump conducts himself seems to have rubbed off, and there's a bit more of sort of public boisterousness flying around.
I mean, this is how it started in the States, though. It was just a minor thread in the jumper, and then all of a sudden you pull it, and then the jumper starts unraveling. And all you need is a minor problem, an excuse to go looking further.
Yeah.
And if you're proactively determined to find something wrong, I guarantee you will find. And it doesn't matter whether
this
it's Ericsson,
report will
Nokia.
definitely be a problem because all the time there are RFPs and RFQs and RFIs out there, and Huawei will be in a lot of them. You can guarantee everybody else that's in a shortlist with Huawei now will be getting a copy of that report,
Yeah.
sending it to that company and go,
100%.
are you sure
Yeah.
you want
I
to?
mean, I'm not saying, but a bit dodgy,
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely.
Lots of FUD.
That's what anybody would do.
Mhm.
Any company would do that, and they will be doing it.
Oh, 100%.
Sow the seed.
And actually, we should acknowledge ZTE, basically officially off the list in the States. So I'm not going to get into it for now. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it too much because we covered it in pretty much every
Yeah.
podcast for the last year.
That's a deep hole to claw yourself out
Yeah.
of. Though.
Yeah, I think we were trying to get Börje to comment on that, but he sort of played a forward defensive stroke to that particular line of questioning.
But did the 600 million euro contract with Wintray clock up in his eyes that Ericsson won, where ZTE was an incumbent
Quite.
supplier?
Yeah, I think he played us straight back to that one as well. We're obviously happy with
Yeah.
any deal wins. I said to him, I think someone else, maybe one of the journalists from Wall Street Journal or whatever,
One of the serious people.
one of the proper hacks.
Yeah.
The real
Asked him some
journalists.
question about how to sort of do better in the States, and I said to him, well, why don't you just make sure that it's an ex-Ericsson CEO at the head of every operator? And he sort of gave me a you cheeky blooper look. But yeah, okay. So we'll just wrap that one up. But I thought on the whole he came over pretty well. I think you're right. He seemed to handle. We had like the proper journalists.
Oh, we're back to Börje, are we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, unless there's stuff we haven't covered with all that other stuff.
No, I think stuff had been covered.
I thought, he handled the sort of straight questions. Some of the hacks there didn't seem to realise it's supposed to be a chilled out drink, and they were just sort of interviewing him like it was all dead serious.
It's an opportunity, I can see that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. They
Just took an opportunity to fill the glass.
Yeah, well, they just need to chill out a little bit. But anyway, perhaps not as much as I did. But he handled all of those really well, as you'd expect him to. And then he had a slightly more sort of, chatty, oblique line of questioning from you and I thought he handled that pretty well as well. So yeah, he came over well. I think that's a good idea. And you always respect a CEO if they put themselves in a situation where they don't control the environment. They got a bunch of hacks there looking to pick holes in them. I think it shows a degree of sort of confidence and guts to just put yourself in the firing line. So fair play to him.
Yep.
Jamie.
Yep.
Iliad in Italy.
Yes.
Tell us all about that.
So they launched there.
Without using the word Odyssey.
Yes.
I thank you for
You're
going
gonna
there. Thank you. I was like, is somebody going to say it?
So they
It's like a nerd reference.
It's like we got
Sorry.
Boris Johnson in here, all classical references. Sorry, go ahead, mate.
Iliad launched 50 days ago, or as it stands now, 51 days or 54 days, depending when you're listening. I think it was 51 days after, or 50 days after launching. 1 million
Take your time, mate.
customers.
1 million customers in 50 days.
Was it 1 million or was it? No, it was 1 million.
It was 1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By now
I
it
got
might
my
be a bit
facts
more than
right.
that.
I got my facts right.
It might be 1,000,001 now.
50 days. This is 51 days or 54 days if you're listening on Monday.
It's like that thing that in aeroplane, people sort of killing themselves around the roof.
What about for listening Wednesday?
There we go.
So
Anyway.
50 days after launch, and they hit 1 million customers,
Yep.
which was obviously
It's not a bad effort, is
very
it?
good.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, this was a massive acceleration. It's too low. I don't want it high
it's
enough.
just the angle.
I want it lower. I don't like it high.
You need to talk this way.
Right.
Just talk.
Okay.
But this is actually quite a big acceleration. So over the first month, they claimed that they were picking up 10,000 customers a day. So over the first 30 days, they picked up 300,000, and in the last 20 days, they picked up an extra 700,000. So things are obviously going very, very well in Italy, which is a bit of a godsend because things are not going very well in France.
Yep.
I think
They're not going as well as they used to.
Well, yes. So they're not picking up as many customers on the mobile side of things as they used to. This is going back to their previous financial results. And then the last results call, they reported the first decline on their
Fixed
broadband
broadband.
customers.
Yeah.
and I think it was a 20% drop in share price over a single day.
Yeah.
So really, really bad results for them. So something like this,
Massive overreaction by
yeah.
shareholders.
I mean, it readjusted afterwards, but it's still not a great performance. But I don't know. I just see Italy being the next sort of India in terms of sort of disruption in the market.
Do you make a parallel with Geo though?
Yeah, with Geo causing absolute chaos on the pricing front because
Yeah,
they've
but that
extended
price,
the offer.
They've extended it, but they're not going to extend it forever. And also remember that Iliad does not have a fixed network in Italy, where it does in France, and Geo has a fixed network in India to go with its mobile.
It does now. It
does
didn't.
now.
It didn't to start with.
Right, but I can't see Iliad having a fixed network in 2 years' time in Italy.
I reckon they will carry on causing chaos until they're told not to. They'll try and break the other Italian operators.
Oh, and there's plenty
And-
to break.
Yeah, and I think they'll carry on with this offer because no one's tried to undercut them yet. Vodafone have introduced this. What was it? Ho or whatever it is. HO.
Oh,
It is. Yeah, honestly, they've got a brand
That's
called
not very
Ho,
politically correct, is it?
which is
Korean or Vietnamese name.
But what was it? It was €7 a month as opposed to €6 a month, which was what Iliad were offering for exactly the same offer. So they've tried to stem the
It was a
the
cheap
exit. It was a cheap ho. They've tried to stem the flow of customers to the exit, but I mean, I can't see Iliad stopping for the moment.
So is it like free in France like a few years ago?
Same
Yeah.
company.
This is the same
Same
company.
company.
Oh,
Iliad
I
owns
just
it.
renamed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
see, I know
Free
nothing.
is the
No.
brand, Iliad is the company.
Right.
So they just
Try and keep
decided
up
to
here.
go with Iliad in
He's
in
French.
Italy.
I should read your
So
articles.
nice.
No.
Yeah, but I live here. Yeah, so,
But you're still supposed to know about French stuff.
yeah.
We know about
Oh.
French stuff.
Did you know
French
France
stuff.
won the World Cup, mate?
Oh yeah, I know that very well.
Do you know what? Actually, you've been quite good on the gloating front, Pierre.
I didn't say. Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you.
He knows they got lucky, basically.
No, I just didn't say anything.
Yeah, no, I watched the final. It was absolutely dismal.
That's what.
Jamie, was that a handball or not? That penalty.
It was.
Oh no, it can't.
Ray would say though, that's how champion is. He said France look proper champion because you win dirty no matter what.
It wasn't a penalty though.
It was. His
No,
hand
look,
accelerates towards the ball.
definition- No, his hand
I've
was
seen-
going that way naturally anyway.
No. His
Yeah.
right hand goes naturally, but his left hand really accelerates towards
I
the ball.
don't think so.
Fade out at this point.
way-
the
We'll
way-
fade back in a minute.
Our
when we
American
come back
listeners
to-
are like, tune out.
I don't think it was a penalty. But
Fine.
No, I'm with you, Jamie.
yeah,
Yeah, well, we scored 2 more after that, so
Yeah.
plummeted.
Oh, they were cheating goals as well somehow. But no, I think you deserved it. You're clearly the best team in the tournament, so fair enough.
See, I would say Belgium was actually the best.
But
team.
is Iliad the best mobile service provider in Italy?
Exactly.
Actually, yeah, back to that.
Do you know a few people? I've been looking on Twitter, and a few people have actually been saying, and I know it's basically an MVNO. I don't know who's there. Whose network are they using over there?
I was going to say, is it terrible? Like,
No,
it's
it's
cheap,
actually
but
pretty
it's
good.
terrible.
It's
Oh,
actually
okay.
pretty good. Apparently, if you look at Twitter, the
In Rome
Yeah, I
only?
can't remember, but they're getting some assets because they got some assets from Wind and 3 coming together in Italy for that merger to be allowed. They had to offload some assets, and they're going to Iliad.
So, but apparently it's pretty good. But I just think they're going
How
to
do I
carry on
remember all
going.
that rubbish?
because you're just a pro, mate.
They're gonna carry on going with this deal until the regulator says you're not allowed to offer this
Yeah.
deal anymore. You can't try and bankrupt the telco
You're too
industry.
good.
Well, I didn't
in-
see how
in
they can.
Italy.
I didn't see how they can pull it off. So
Free
basically,
market, no?
Yeah, they put themselves in a
but
corner
that's
now.
but Geo was told they couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, they
'Cause-
were offering it for free at the start.
Yes, but then they were told they weren't allowed to do their offer afterwards.
Yeah, but that's
which
India.
was-
India, they change the regulation every 2 seconds over
Yeah.
there. This is EU rules here.
But I think the
Not here,
regulator
but-
can step in when it's irresponsible pricing. So if it's pricing where you can't make money and you're just doing it to try and
Right,
essentially
so they'll
bankrupt
push
an
it as far as
industry.
they can.
Yeah. So I mean, but how long will that be?
but how sustainable
knows?
is that for Iliad? So it must be running at a pretty massive loss there, because it's basically bribing people to join and
They're paying them to use their network.
buying
But if they got some mobile assets, I mean, they can they can get into the content game and they can start, with scale comes.
Yeah.
You
That's
get
the
the
plan.
mobile.
This is where their
subscriber base.
experience in France comes in, because everybody said that they wouldn't be able to sustain it and not be able to make money in France
And
because
then
they
they
were doing things
diversified.
differently. But they they weren't a traditional mobile network operator, and they did things incredibly different. For example, in their broadband network, they built their own access technology equipment. They didn't buy it from a vendor, and everybody said you're crazy, but they saved so much money that they were able to offer a really high speed service for a low price and make money. And that's how they built their business. So they really know they know the business side of things. And if you can add 700,000 customers in 20 days, that means they've got a shit hot back end system that can manage the onboarding of that many customers and not let it drop. So these people know what they're doing.
I mean, I don't know what their market share at the moment is, but I mean, even if you got to someone like Three's level in the UK,
I think they're up to, is it was either 1.4 or 4%. They're aiming for 10% within 2 years.
If you could get that, I mean, there's so much you can do with 10% of customers. You know, you think of the converged offers that you can throw around, and it almost justifies the expense of trying to get on these customers in the first place. I mean, one of the things I referenced in the article was that presentation at BCE where you had the Geo guy, and it was just, you just think what they're doing is absolutely incredible.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, I know they've got scale
and they're greenfield.
Yeah. There's only one other country in the world which can match them for customer scale. I mean, and then that's China. Yeah,
or
from
Indonesia.
A population perspective. You know, but the same theory can be applied elsewhere. And I think if they can do that, in Italy could be a very interesting market over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
How many people live there?
About 60 million. It's about the same as the UK.
Oh wow.
Or maybe 50. It's on the same scale as the UK, and the UK is about 55 million, is it? Something like that.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest.
Same as
in
France.
It's going
France
down,
is about
isn't it? Everybody's
65.
running away. They'll definitely get a slice of the action.
Yeah.
Cool.
Peaks of the action.
Sorry, was that a funny?
Did you say
finish
pizza the action?
Yeah.
Nah.
Just one side.
I got told off by one of the comments on Telecoms.com today about my dated stereotypes about the Italians.
Yeah. He made some sort of generalisations about pizza and
Mopeds and bad
and
haircuts.
Bad haircut.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
bad
I don't know
hairstyles.
Best football shirts.
Don't know about bad hairstyle. I mean, bad
Amazing
chocolate.
coffee.
The slicked back, horrible, greasy
And
stuff.
some Italian guy went, you know.
Oh,
pack it in.
we're all about opera now.
Is it?
Yeah, that's basically what you said. Opera and beautiful women or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Thanks,
I
Enzo.
think you can have all of them, Enzo. It's not either or, is it?
The car. They can make supercars.
Yeah.
Oh, you said something about Ferraris.
Yeah.
I'm going to... I won't be doing the podcast for a couple of weeks after this because I'm going to be in Sicily. So I'll be able to tell you... I'll come back with more generalisations for you.
I don't think Sicilians would be happy to be called Italians, though.
Yeah, it's different. It's like the Corsicans in France. They hate it.
That's worse, but yeah.
Do you think if I just go around implying they're all just like something out of The Godfather, that'll ingratiate me?
It'll go.
Then you'll
really
never
well.
do the podcast ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another stereotype.
If I do that, I'll end up sleeping with the fishes.
Oh my god.
At some stage, I want to say, leave the gun, take the cannolis.
Yeah.
I've got to say that. Anyway,
Just say it to your wife. For God's
Quietly.
sakes. That's right.
yeah.
Behind closed doors.
All right. Before I land myself in all sorts of trouble before my holiday's even started, Ray, I'm going to hand over to you, and you're going to talk about blockchain and that sort of thing.
Oh yes, that's right.
That's what you said you were going to talk
That's
about.
right. Yeah. So I've been looking into this a bit. As you know, light reading, very heavy on the kind of the focus on automation and how processes can be automated within telecom operators to cut costs, improve efficiencies, etc., etc. And it looks like there's going to be an increasing use or an attempt to use blockchain for automation to use it for some of the processes that are still done manually around things like interconnect, voice billing, but also potentially in the future as well, organizing network-to-network interface agreements between software-defined networks internationally, because every SDN is kind of an island at the moment. And the use of blockchain there would just make things just incredibly efficient, and make the whole process of setting up these interconnects and agreements a lot better. It'll be just really interesting to see if that kind of that the use of that technology, which is still so very closely aligned and tied in with cryptocurrencies and with all the pejorative thoughts that comes with, about how this distributed ledger technology could actually play a key role in the automation of processes, telecoms operators.
See, that's the one thing I don't understand. Like, I get it from a transaction perspective, like justifying and validating transactions, but I just don't know how it would. It's something I've not read into whatsoever.
Well, it's just all you're doing is sharing secure and trusted information. That's what it's about. And there is potential and hope that blockchain-like technology will be used to ratify information and
okay, so it's kind of like an encryption key
in IoT. When if you've got a million elements in a smart city network, for example, then there's the hope that a blockchain will be used to basically store the data about what's happening at all those endpoints, and make it so that it can be trusted. There's also things like in human resources. I was speaking to Colt about this because they've been looking into it quite a lot, and they're talking about even and this applies for any industry, for human resources peoples. If you have a CV of somebody who's looking for a job and it's put into a blockchain along with references, then if you see that person, you can check out their CV and their references, and it's all trusted on the blockchain. You have to start getting in touch with 3 people, trying to find out have they actually got a degree in electrical engineering from such and such, because it's on the blockchain, it'll be trusted, and that kind of thing cut out.
So because it's duplicated a million times, as soon as you plug in your version, it's checked against all the other million copies. Okay.
And checked against the sources of the information as being verified and trusted. So there's a hell of a lot, and I think also there was something about smart IDs. I haven't really got my head around there, but verifying around the security of an ID, a smart ID. So I mean, I think this, blockchain. I think at the moment it's all about crypto. I think in 2 years' time.
How's that going, Jamie? How's your crypto trading?
Going all right. Nothing mind blowing.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
He's still here, isn't he?
Crypto will just be a little part of what distributed ledger technology
I get it
is doing around the
from
world.
In the finance world, where you're justifying transactions and you're proving the validity of transactions, but and accounts and all that sort of thing.
Right.
But the applications elsewhere. I mean, it's.
But handing over a CV as a transaction just doesn't involve money. So
just justifying and proving it's valid.
Yeah.
Especially
secure
if you're
validity.
If you're a journalist, handing over your CV rarely involves money. See what I did there?
Have you got a CV?
Yeah. Is it too late to admit I lied on it? The game's up. I don't know what I'm talking about. I think I've already revealed that. Cryptocurrency, blockchain, that sort of thing is far too abstract for my addled brain to get my head around right now. But what I do get is the start of what you're talking about, the need for it within telecoms. If everything else is automated, then I suppose the handover between one thing and another, or one network or another, or one service and another, needs to be automated as well. Otherwise, I guess you could automate 99% of stuff, but it's going to be as fast as the 1% that isn't. So that makes sense to me. The only flip side of all that automation is I'll start getting my old Terminator. Find that bit of Terminator stuff when everything's automated and the machines start getting funny ideas. Where's it going to end, eh? That's what I want to know. So yeah, just a
Back to the Future. Don't know. I know it's
something like
different.
that.
I think we're already in a simulation anyway.
Yeah.
So we are in this room.
Are we though?
No, you think. Yeah. Your brain is telling you are. What's telling your
My brain is not telling me very much at the moment, I must admit.
No,
yeah, I saw that with the Rubik's Cube.
My brain's telling me to grow up. Cool. Okay. I think that's
your brain is telling you, feed me a Nurofen.
No, my brain's telling me just go to sleep. Okay. But I'm not. I'm going to go out instead.
So I'm about to go on 2 weeks holiday. Ask me about blockchain telecoms when I get back and watch the blank expression on my face.
Oh, yeah, that old thing.
What?
Yeah.
Where are you going, Ray?
I'm going to the south of Portugal.
Excellent. Is that
Lagos.
Is that like a favourite haunt of yours for holidays?
Portugal haven't been to the south yet. I'm basically going to spend 14 days eating pastéis de nata.
Oh, you love those, do you?
He loves that.
My brother worked out there last year. He loved the place. Absolutely loved it. He's a chef, and he just does sort of like he travels away, goes abroad to holiday hotspots, and does like 3-4 months in the high season there.
Right.
And he spent 3 months in Lagos, and he just loved it. He said it's a great place.
Great. Excellent.
Cool.
You must be pleased with the 2020 location.
Very much so.
December,
Lisbon.
yeah.
Yeah, for the Light Reading Executive Summit in December.
Yeah.
Heading to Lisbon.
Oh,
Absolutely.
well done for handing him a plug at the end of the show. there.
That was so subtle. Yeah.
That's Lisbon, everybody. Early December.
Yeah. 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
So you're going off to Portugal. I'm going
Yeah.
to Sicily. You've just come back from Thailand, haven't you?
Yep.
We
is
don't
that-
have another 2 hours to go into that.
No. Yeah, we could have spoken. Well, actually, just a quick summary. You were out in China for Mobile Congress Shanghai. How was that?
Good. It was busy, incredibly hot, very China-centric.
Right.
It was I enjoyed it. It was a good show. It was so my basic objective out there was to go out, and so I did BC a couple of months back. Then I've been doing a load of events around the UK, and then going across to China is to get some sort of like comparison between the 3 regions. And
Yep.
it was it was an interesting one. I mean, the attitude to 5G is very different. Well, it's what the Europeans want to emulate. They're just not doing a very good job at it at the moment.
Okay. So you got the vibe that the Chinese are really nailing it.
They've been preparing for years to go into to provide vertical solutions. You know that.
Well, also they've had a fibre deployment strategy
Yeah,
for years.
yeah.
It's going to underpin it as well.
But they've been tailoring solutions for years. They said, a couple of years back, okay, we think 5G is going to be great for healthcare, so we're going to create a division which is researching how our solutions can be implemented in the healthcare region. And the Europeans have been saying they want to do that, but they've only started researching it over the last 6, 7, 8 months. So they're going to get there, but they're
You could
just
expect a message from King's College London, I think.
yeah, but they're just years behind the Asian operators. They've just been looking into this, and they committed far earlier than Europeans did.
Always. Oh, apart from the Nordics, of course.
Yeah.
Up in Scandinavia, they're always ahead of the game as well.
But even in the US, I don't mind the fact that they don't. I mean, they care about the verticals, obviously, but they absolutely committed. They say, right, 5G, we're going to use this as a plug to get to be the best consumer operator around, and we're gonna do these incredible offerings, and we're going to give you super fast mobile speed, and it's all about the consumer. And personally, I think the verticals way is a better, more sustainable and a more profitable business plan in the long run. But at least the Americans actually turned around and said, this is our plan, and we're going to commit to it, and we're going to really gun for it. And that's what the Europeans didn't do. They dilly-dallied, tried to prove everything, trying to make a justification for every single aspect of the business model, and now they're just lagging behind on both fronts. But at least they are heading towards the vertical side now.
Are the Americans going to go for like VR NFL on your phone?
VR, I mean, that's the one thing I'm really looking forward to. I would love it. So if they could nail hologram technology, imagine how good it would be to buy a ticket to the World Cup final, and you go down to like Wembley to watch it, and you got 70,000 people packed into Wembley, and it's the same hologram version of the World Cup that's being played in Moscow. That would be great.
You go to a stadium to watch a hologram.
Yeah,
But
the holograms are so good that it looks like you're watching.
That's what Japan wanted to do. They bid on some Olympics or something. They wanted to do that.
Maybe they'll do that for the Qatar World Cup in 2022.
Yeah, in November.
No one has to go
Wembley
there because it's too bloody hot.
Everybody can go to Wembley, and they'll turn all the heaters on, and everybody can sweat their bollocks off.
It's going to be in November.
The full Qatar experience.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I think we've done our hour, or more or less. So thanks a lot for that, guys. I really want to go to bed, but I'm going to have to go out instead. That's just what it's like being the crazy rock and roll dude that I am.
Yeah.
So,
what is that shirt today?
Yeah, it's just Download Festival.
Nice.
So yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and thank you.
Mine's River Island.
Thank you for listening.
TK Maxx.
No, 1970s.
You're completely ruining my outro. Right,
Bye.
bye. All right, just bye.